It blew through $100 an ounce. We ended up closing around $102.50. All-time record high. Silver's never been above 100. Of course, once it got to 100, it wasn't resistance. It just blew right through it, selling their Bitcoin, which is now more than 10% below 100,000. And they should have been buying silver, like I said, because had they done that, they would have almost 4 times as much money today had they just made the switch from Bitcoin to silver. We are on the verge of a massive collapse in the dollar. In fact, the dollar really tanked today. The dollar index dropped to its lowest level since October. The star of the day was silver. I guess not just the day, but the week. Silver surged about $6.50 today, something like that. It blew through $100 an ounce. We ended up closing around $102.50. All-time record high. Silver's never been above 100. Of course, once it got to 100, it wasn't resistance. It just blew right through it, and now we're above 102. Gold also not too shabby, up about 45 bucks or so, but it couldn't quite make it to 5,000. Gold went out at around 4,980 or so. In fact, I don't think it's actually finished trading yet, so we'll see. But 5,000 is probably not going to happen until Sunday night. In fact, I think gold is going to do to 5,000 what silver did to 100. And again, that may happen Sunday night, Monday. In fact, the percentage gains, listen to these numbers. Silver was up 6.6% today. On the week, it was up 15%. And so far this year, which, we're only maybe, I guess, 3/4 of the way through January. We got another week left. But so far this year, we're up 45% in silver. Now, that's on top of the spectacular gain from last year. Another 45% this year, and we still have a week to go to finish January. Right? People didn't believe me when I said I thought the metals could do even better in 2026 than they did in 2025.
The psychological barrier has officially shattered. Seeing silver scream past $100 isn't just a market rally, it's a total revaluation of physical money. Peter Schiff has been calling this for years, and now that the paper ceiling is gone, we're entering uncharted territory. This is history in the making, folks.
Bitcoin was down 6% this week, not digital gold, the anti-gold. And year to date, Bitcoin is positive, but just barely. It's up 1%. I expect that to change by next year. A lot of people, these hodlers, are holding and hoping, and they're expecting Bitcoin to catch up to gold and surpass gold. Not going to happen. In fact, the people who have been waiting are going to throw in the towel. The speculators in the ETFs are going to sell, and the bottom is going to drop out of this market. A lot of the people that are in the Bitcoin ETFs raise the money to make those investments by selling their gold stocks and their silver stocks. That was a huge mistake. When Bitcoin hit 100,000 in December of last year, December of 2024, right after Trump won the election, and everybody was having a Bitcoin, 100,000 party. What they should have been doing, instead of celebrating at those parties, they should have been taking profits. They should have been selling their Bitcoin, which is now more than 10% below 100,000. And they should have been buying silver, like I said, because had they done that, they would have almost 4 times as much money today had they just made the switch from Bitcoin to silver. Now, it's not too late because it's going to get even worse for the Bitcoiners if they don't get out and get into silver or get into gold.
This is the reality check the crypto world didn't see coming. While silver is hitting all-time highs, Bitcoin is actually retreating. It's failing the ultimate safe haven test right when investors need it most. Schiff's point is brutal but clear. You can't eat code, and you can't build industry with it.
We are on the verge of a massive collapse in the dollar. In fact, the dollar really tanked today. The dollar index dropped to its lowest level since October, right? Dollar index was down just about a full percentage point. Looks like we closed around 97.4. The US dollar is about 0.5% away from a new all-time record low in the Swiss franc. And I believe we're going to crash through that next week. This is a sign. The world is losing confidence in the US dollar, and they are buying the Swiss franc. Now, obviously, they're buying gold even more than the Swiss franc. And now they're buying silver. That's also helping to power commodities. Oil was up almost $2 a barrel today. Many of the oil stocks are at new 52-week highs today. They are forward-looking. I've been saying on my regular podcast for months now, oil is bottoming. In fact, we couldn't go significantly below 60, even on the Venezuela news. And even with all this new Venezuela oil being dumped on the market by Trump, prices held. And we're about to explode. And it's not just oil prices that are going to go way up. It's going to be agricultural commodities. This is a huge commodity bull market. All of this, of course, is going to bleed into consumer prices. But not only is it going to force consumer prices that are already high and moving higher, but they're going to go up even faster. But it's also going to put upward pressure on long-term interest rates, which are also rising. Yields on the 10-year and the 30-year treasuries are now back above where they were before the Fed cut rates by 75 basis points. But we're going a lot higher. And one of the reasons for this is Donald Trump and the speech that he just gave at Davos. And I spoke quite a bit about that on my podcast that I recorded yesterday. And it's an hour-long podcast, so I said a lot, and I don't want to just repeat everything. So once again, I'm going to say that if you're watching this podcast, when you're finished, go and watch the last podcast I did on my main channel, my main YouTube channel, Peter Schiff, and listen to that one. Right. Oh, and by the way, make sure to subscribe to this channel if you're not currently a subscriber. Like the video, comment on the video, and the only thing that you might want to do before you go watch my podcast, the other podcast, is go to Shift Gold and buy yourself some gold or silver. Now, gold might be the better buy here, right? Because you can still buy it below 5,000. And I assume that if you watch this video on Friday night or on Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, you could.
The dollar isn't just slipping, it's bleeding out against neutral currencies like the Swiss franc. When the world's reserve currency starts hitting record lows against the franc, the exorbitant privilege of the US is over. This is the global market literally voting no confidence in the Federal Reserve's entire system.
Demand is going to go up in other countries, right? It's going to go down here because as the dollar tanks and foreign currencies rise, right, prices go down in other countries. Things get cheaper. And so demand goes up, right? You demand more when the price is lower. And so people outside the United States are going to consume a lot more. So that means there's going to be a lot less available for Americans, right? We're not going to be importing as much stuff because it's going to be too expensive. So yes, Americans are going to buy a lot less stuff, but the stuff they do buy is going to cost a lot more, right? And so you can still have a lot of unemployed people, a weak economy, but everything you want to buy is very expensive because you're competing with people all around the world who are now richer because you're poor.
This is the scariest part of the analysis. A crashing dollar means the rest of the world gets a discount on global goods while Americans get a massive price hike. We're moving into an era where we simply won't be able to outbid the rest of the world for basic resources. The consensus here is undeniable. The day of reckoning is no longer a future event. As Schiff warns, the time to protect yourself is before the stampede to the exit begins. Whether it's physical silver or gold, the window to secure your purchasing power at these levels is closing fast.